Hello and welcome to our documentary on John Dalton, who was also known as the father of chemistry. This was by Ryan Hibbert, me, Akshay and Joe Smith. John Dalton was a famous chemist and meteorologist who was born on September 6, 1766, into a modest Quaker family in Eaglesfield, near Cumbria. John Dalton was born to the son of a weaver, and he joined the local school in his area. He earned his living first by teaching and having public lectures for 10 years, starting when he was 12. After 10 years of teaching, in 1793, he moved to Manchester, where he joined the Literary and Philosophical Society, which provided him with a laboratory and facilities to do chemical experiments. His first experiments were about meteorology. In his first project, he researched meteorology, taking daily recordings of the weather. After doing this in Manchester for a while, he publicised his first book, Meteorological Findings, in the first year of arriving in Manchester. Dalton's Law. In the early 1800s, while studying the nature and chemical makeup of air, he discovered that it wasn't a chemical solvent, as others had said. Instead, it was a mechanical system composed of small particles that used pressure of each gas independently. He made the law that the total pressure of a mixture of gases amounted to the sum of partial pressures that each individual gas exerted while occupying the same space. This was called Dalton's Law. Also very famous because of his work on the atomic theory, and which helps us to understand chemistry today. While in Manchester, Dalton's work with gases eventually led him to say that everything, solids, liquids or gas, were all made up of small individual particles which we now know as atoms. After this, Dalton made the first chart of atomic weights. His work with atoms is fundamental for chemistry. The periodic table is also a chart of atomic weights, so this was an early version of that. He eventually wrote another book, A New System of Chemical Philosophy, which explained the atom and showed the atom just as we do today. This is a modern representation of an atom, and John Dalton's atomic theory would have looked quite like this. Dalton's atomic model. Dalton didn't just make theories about atoms, he also made his own model to show atoms in substances. For example, we have elements known at the time here, such as hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, phosphorus, and so on. And as you can see, at the side of them, there is the atomic number, which hydrogen 1, oxygen 7, phosphorus 9, which are all correct for today as well. His death. John Dalton died on the 26th of July 1844 in his home in Manchester. Because he was so famous in the chemistry world, and because he had made so many important discoveries, reported 40,000 people attended his funeral. John Dalton was such a brilliant man who improved our understanding of chemistry and physics tremendously. Without him, our chemistry knowledge would be so far back. This is why he's sometimes called the father of chemistry. Thank you very much for listening to our presentation on John Dalton and his findings in chemistry and meteorology.